So as a refresher, here is the first crack that I'm going to tackle. This is on the bow, and that's a 15-inch cold crack, and that's what we're going to be tackling first. In order to do that, I'm going to be using some sandpaper to rough up the surface. Just purchased this Dremel bit today, realizing I didn't have the proper bit. I'm not even sure if this is going to work. I'm going to have to be extremely careful with this. But this is to bevel the inside and outside edges to receive the G-Flex product. Now, the packing tape is going to be used to catch the epoxy. If the packing tape on each side of the repair to potentially work out the air bubbles. And maybe I can get away with a little bit of heat. But the heat is also to warm up the area prior to the epoxy application. Recommended per all the forums and research and West Systems repair instructions. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Acetone again, just to clean up the area, make sure all the oil and debris is properly removed for a nice adherent surface. So using the Dremel tool with the cutting bit installed, I'm going to try and make a chamfer on each edge, kind of like a V, an open V for receiving area for the epoxy to bond to. So I'm going to have to be extremely careful here because these tools can get away from me really quickly, and I'm going to do my best. I'm quite pleased with how that Dremel performed. Just using a regular Dremel cutting bit. Not exactly sure what the specs are on that bit. It just looked, you know, made sense to me when I purchased it. So that's what I'm looking for, a V channel to receive that epoxy. And I'm going to have to repeat the same steps on the inside. And then after that's done, then I'm going to apply the packing tape on the inside, apply the epoxy on the outside, and then gently roll packing tape up on the outside, and then try and, using both hands, manipulate the air pockets out, maybe using some heat in the general vicinity to help make the epoxy a little more viscous, and then let that entrapped air out. So we'll see how it goes. So the Dremel tool application worked really well. For those interested in maybe trying to, you know, do the same thing and want to try the same method, this is the Dremel tool, Dremel bit that I used. I believe it's a, hold on, you know, 194 perhaps. Yeah, it's 194. It comes in a 2-pack from Dremel. It's a $14 pack for 2 of these bits. It was very effective. I mean, we're not talking hard material here. It's plastic and foam core, so it did a nice job. Now that each crack has been excavated with the Dremel tool and beveled, you can see the bevel here and here to the most part, you know. I'll now clean all of these joints up with acetone and then get into the epoxy mix. So I was going to use 80 grit. I'm going to go 120 grit just because I don't want to take off too much material. And that's just a late decision that I made, just to be more careful. Next step is to wipe it all down with acetone, clean up all the fine dust, and really satisfied with the sanding process here. I was real gentle. I used 120 grit and made quick passes, but it really smoothed out the surface of the canoe. So I'm really confident that the primer coat is going to adhere well, and it's going to smooth out all of the remaining little gouges. Shouldn't be a whole lot, but it is an old canoe. So we're trying to make it the best aesthetically that we possibly can. Here I go with the acetone, just going to wipe down the entire canoe and get ready for the primer coat. So the first coat, and potentially the only coat of primer, has been applied to the Eclipse, and I'm just going to wait for that to cure. I got to fire up the pellet stove here in the workshop just to give it a good cure time and give it some heat. But all in all, it was pretty good coverage here. I always have found that the Rustoleum product is it's fantastic. I've used it on a couple projects now, and it's just really a good product. So the primer coat was allowed to dry overnight, and I'm pleased with that. I'm going to only do one coat. I've elected not to do a second coat for weight savings. Each quart is 32 ounces, so if I add the entire quart of both the primer and the paint, that's adding 4 pounds to the canoe, and I don't want to do that. So, like I said, I'm pleased with the result here. It is an old canoe. It's only going to look as good as it possibly can with a little bit of effort, but it's never going to look new again entirely. So there are some rough spots on the canoe that I'm going to sand off. I'm going to do a quick wet sand. Just going to gently spray some water and just do a quick once over. And I just again fired up the pellet stove here in the shop to raise the temperature in here in preparations for the navy blue topside Rustoleum top coat. So we're going to get going on the wet sanding. Just a quick once over let it dry, and then get right into the painting.